All right, sixth grade, today we are going to be painting our Picasso faces. So we're gonna be doing this with watercolors. You're gonna have a couple different sizes of brushes. I have a large and a small. Try to paint as much as you can with your large brush because it will obviously cover more space. So the clay is very, very dry and the paint dries on it very quickly. So make sure you're doing a good job of putting a nice even coat of color. What I like to do is start with a base color and then go back and add any details on top. Be careful, since we're painting a three-dimensional piece, the paint tends to kind of run, so be kind of aware of that. If I don't want my paint to run onto this little centerpiece, I can kind of hold up my clay to kind of make it, if it does run, it runs in a direction I don't mind it to run. Might need my smaller brush to get into these smaller spaces. Make sure you paint your edges of everything, so pick it up, paint the edges. You obviously don't have to paint the back because we're not going to see the back, but you will see these edges, so make sure you're painting those. Remember, the darker you want your color, the more you should mix your paint in with the water that you're adding. If you want it to be like a really, really, really light, like pastel version of that color, then add more water and don't mix it as much with your paint. The more wet your paint is though, the easier it will kind of sink into those deep spots of your clay. Okay, so now I kind of have a lot of my base colors down. Now what I like to do is I like to take my smaller brush and I like to use that to kind of go into those textures I pressed into my clay. So I like to get my paint pretty wet, and then I like to just kind of put it in those little textures I pressed. Because if you get your paint really, really wet, it'll sink down in to those little textures. What I like to do for my eyeballs, since I pressed the very center of my eyeball in, I like to take another color and put that right in the middle to kind of make it look like a little bit more like an eyeball. I don't even know if you can really see that, but I just put a little bit of black in the deep part of the center of my eye. Okay, so I think my Picasso face is done. I added the holes for hair. I have these to add my hair. If you didn't add hair, that's totally fine. But what I'm gonna do is just stick them through. And you can see I kind of trimmed it so it wasn't quite so long. But I'm just going to stick them through and then just kind of twist them a couple of times once they're through. All right, guys, there's my finished Picasso face. I can't wait to see how you paint yours. Let's get started.